In the 1920s, young women were told to lick paintbrushes covered in poison. Their bosses knew it would kill them. They did it anyway. Their jaws fell off. The company called them liars. They were called the Radium Girls, and they thought they had dream jobs. During World War I, hundreds of young women were hired to paint glow-in-the-dark watch dials with radium paint. The work was delicate, so supervisors taught them a technique called lip pointing. Dip the brush in radium paint, put it in your mouth, shape it to a fine point with your lips, then paint. Dip, lick, paint. Hundreds of times a day. The girls were told radium was harmless. Their bosses even said it was healthy, that it would make their cheeks rosy. Some girls painted their nails and teeth with it for fun. It glowed in the dark. They called themselves the Ghost Girls. Then they started dying. It began with toothaches. Then their jaws started to rot, literally crumble apart. Doctors pulled teeth and entire pieces of jawbone came out with them. The radium had settled in their bones and was eating them from the inside. One woman's entire jaw was removed. Another's spine disintegrated. They were in constant, excruciating pain. And when they went to their employer, the U.S. Radium Corporation, for help, they were told it wasn't the company's fault. The company hired doctors to examine the girls and lie in their reports. They blamed the women's deaths on syphilis, saying the girls were promiscuous. They called them hysterical. They suggested the women were faking for attention, all while knowing exactly what radium was doing to them, because the company knew. The men who owned U.S. Radium Corporation used lead shields and tongs to handle radium. They wore protective gear, but they never warned the girls. Instead, they told them to keep licking the brushes because it was faster and increased production. When the girls started getting sick, the company buried the evidence. They threatened doctors who tried to speak out. They paid off witnesses. They delayed court cases for years, hoping the women would die before they could testify. And many did. Grace Fryer, one of the first to sue, had to search for 3 years to find a lawyer willing to take her case. By the time she got to court, she could barely walk. Her bones were crumbling. The radium was still glowing inside her body decades later. The Radium Girls finally won their case in 1928, but the settlement was small and came too late for most. The victory did something bigger, though. It changed labor law forever. Their lawsuit established that employers could be held responsible for workplace safety. It laid the groundwork for OSHA and workers' rights we have today, but the cost was brutal. Over 70 women died from radium poisoning. Some of their bodies are still radioactive a century later. They're buried in lead-lined coffins because their bones are too dangerous to handle. And the worst part? U.S. Radium Corporation knew from the start. They had the science. They had the evidence. They chose profit over lives. They glowed in the dark. Then they died in the dark. And their company called them liars until they couldn't anymore. This is Untold Dark History. Subscribe for more dark truth videos like this.